In D&D and Baldur's Gate 3, as you level up and reach certain levels, you gain access to higher level spells. In Baldur's Gate 3's early access, the current max level is 4, therefore the highest level spells that we currently have access to are level 2 spells, so needless to say, there's a ton of spells that we have still yet to see in the game. Keep in mind that we don't know what spells Larian will actually include, nor do we know what the max level of the official game will be. So in this particular video, I'll stick to spells that are in the player's handbook, and I'm also going to cap the spell level at level 7, which would be a max character level of 13. It's also, of course, possible that it could be higher or even lower than that come official release. Let's jump right into it. The first spell that so many players have been waiting for is the one and only Fireball. Fireball is a level 3 spell that's on the sorcerer and wizard spell list. I think most can probably guess what it does. It shoots a big ass ball of fire, and creatures that are within its 20-foot radius from the point of explosion will be screaming for their lives. Fireball makes creatures do a dexterity saving throw, and if they fail, they'll take 8d6 fire damage, and with a successful save, that damage is cut in half. Fireball will also ignite flammable objects, of course. Any powerful AoE spell in basically any video game can make a huge difference in a combat encounter, and Fireball is certainly no exception here, and honestly, it'll probably be one of the most used spells in the game. Jumping all the way to a level 7 spell, which would be class level 13 in Baldur's Gate 3, we have the Teleport spell. Teleport is on the Bard, Wizard, and Sorcerer spell list, and what it does is it allows you to teleport yourself and up to 8 willing creatures that you can see, or a single object that you can see, to a destination that you select. In other words, if this spell makes it into Baldur's Gate 3, you'll likely be able to just dip yourself and your entire party out of a combat encounter in a single turn. Since we already have fast travel through waypoints in early access, this spell might not be as useful in Baldur's Gate 3 outside of combat. But to escape a combat encounter quickly, or perhaps even teleport your entire party to a more advantageous position in a combat encounter, it could really come in handy. Keep in mind though that the 5th edition version of this spell can sometimes be a little unpredictable, and not only cause damage to creatures, but also have a few of them end up in places they might not have expected. Speaking of teleporting, we also have the less costly level 4 spell called Dimension Door, which is on the Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard spell list. Dimension Door is pretty sweet because it allows you to teleport yourself and also a willing creature of your size or smaller to any other spot that's within range. And in D&D, that range is up to 200 feet. It's basically a beefed up Misty Step for 2 at the cost of an action. It's a big help for party positioning and also can be used to get out of sticky situations. Next up is Disintegrate, a level 6 spell that's on the Wizard and Sorcerer spell list. With Disintegrate, you'll shoot thin green rays at a target, forcing them to do a dexterity saving throw. If they fail, they'll take 10d6 plus 40 force damage, and if they succeed, they take half that damage. Keep in mind that force damage is the least resisted of the damage types, so this is a pretty damn powerful spell. Succeed or fail though, if this creature is reduced to 0 hit points, they're of course disintegrated and reduced to a pile of ash. I really hope this one makes it into the game. Jumping back down to level 3 spells, which primary spellcasters will get access to at class level 5, we have Animate Dead. Anything necromancy related, players jump all over it, so I couldn't leave this one out of the video. Animate Dead is on the Cleric and Wizard spell list, and it allows the caster to target a pile of bones and turn them into a skeleton, or target a corpse of a medium or small humanoid creature and turn that creature into a zombie. On each of your turns, you'll be able to use your bonus action to command this undead creature to do things, which in Baldur's Gate 3 would likely be to attack. Another cool aspect of this spell is that if you upcast it at a higher level, you can actually animate multiple bones or corpses. This next spell is not a combat-focused spell, but it's valuable nonetheless, and it's called Arcane Eye. Arcane Eye is a level 4 wizard spell that requires concentration, and it allows a wizard to create an invisible magical eye that will hover in the air. This magical eye can travel very far away from the caster, and the caster will mentally receive visual information from the eye. In Baldur's Gate 3, this could certainly be used to scout out areas, and also I would imagine you'd be able to read documents that your caster should not be reading. Next up are the wall spells: Wind Wall, Wall of Fire, and Wall of Stone. Wind Wall is a level 3 spell on the Druid and Ranger spell list. It does require concentration, and it's not too insanely powerful damage-wise, as it deals 3d8 bludgeoning damage to those who fail a strength saving throw. But what it can also do is create a wall of wind that you can shape that will deflect incoming projectiles such as arrows and bolts. It'll prevent flying creatures and gaseous creatures from advancing, and it also keeps fog, smoke, and other gases at bay. Wall of Fire is a level 4 spell on the Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard spell list that also requires concentration. This spell will allow you to create a wall of fire on a solid surface, and creatures that are in it or walk into it that fail a dexterity saving throw will take 5d8 fire damage and half as much if they succeed on their saving throw. I use this spell all the time in Stadia to get the benefits of area control and also mass damage. Very, very good spell. Wall of Stone is a level 5 spell on the Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard spell list that of course also requires concentration. Wall of Stone is cool because it blocks most adversaries from being able to get to you, so you could use it to cut your enemy lines in half, making the combat encounter much more manageable while the wall is up. The Wall of Stone does have its own armor class and hit points, so it can be destroyed. But my god, I can see myself using this spell all the time in any encounter that has several combatants involved. On to one of the coolest spells in all of D&D, and that is Polymorph. Polymorph is a level 4 Bard, Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard spell that transforms a creature that you can see into a new form as long as the caster can hold their concentration. In 5th edition, this new form can be any beast whose challenge rating is equal to or less than the target's. So in Baldur's Gate 3, this will likely be a limited list of beasts that you can choose from that are a similar level to the actual target. If you're attempting to use Polymorph on an unwilling creature, that creature will make a Wisdom saving throw to attempt to stop the Polymorph from occurring. When a creature is transformed, their statistics will be replaced by that of the chosen beast, and if they're dropped to 0 hit points, they will automatically revert form and any excess damage will carry over to the player's or creature's normal form. Polymorph is going to be a fun spell to use not only on your own party, but also on your opponents. Next up is a level 3 spell that's on the cleric spell list, and it's called Spirit Guardians. With Spirit Guardians, you'll call forth spirits to protect you, and these spirits will fly around your cleric in a 15-foot radius. This spell does require concentration. Any creatures that enter this radius will not only have their movement speed cut in half, but they'll also have to do a Wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they'll suffer 3d8 radiant damage. On a successful save, that damage is of course cut in half. The cool thing is that in D&D, these spirits can actually take on angelic or fey forms depending on your choice. And if you're a rather evil player, they'll actually take on the form of fiendish spirits, which will deal necrotic damage instead of radiant damage. This is a really good area denial and damage over time spell. While on the topic of clerics, and in this case also paladins, we have the level 4 spell called Death Ward. Death Ward allows you to touch a creature and grant it a measure of protection from death. If that creature drops to 0 hit points as a result of taking damage, with Death Ward they'll instead drop to 1 hit point and the spell will end. This is basically the save your ass and you get a second chance type of spell. The cool thing is that it doesn't require concentration and will likely be able to cast it right after a long rest before any combat encounter even begins for that added level of protection in Baldur's Gate 3. Another cleric and paladin spell that I'm fairly certain we will see in the game is Revivify, which is a level 3 spell that returns a creature to life with 1 hit point. Revivify will likely be very similar to the scrolls that we already have access to in early access, except with this spell it will require you to touch the creature that you're reviving. It's also quite possible that there will be a time limit in terms of how long a creature can stay dead for before the spell will no longer work. I of course cannot leave out the conjure spells, and I would imagine that we will see most if not all of these, and these spells are Conjure Animal, Conjure Elemental, Conjure Woodland Beings, and Conjure Fey. As you can probably guess, each of these spells conjures a particular type of spirit creature, and some of them allow you to conjure multiple creatures. These creatures will of course fight by your side. Most, if not all, of the conjure spells do require concentration, so make sure to keep that in mind. Since I've been talking quite a bit about offensive spells, here's a few healing spells that you can look forward to. Mass Healing Word and also Mass Cure Wounds. Mass Healing Word is a level 3 spell, so we will be getting it at class level 5, and it does exactly what you would expect. It allows you to use Healing Word on up to 6 creatures of your choice. Healing Word in general is one of the best spells in Baldur's Gate 3, and being able to use it on all of your party members is huge. Mass Cure Wounds is a level 5 cleric, druid, and bard spell, and the cool thing about Mass Cure Wounds is it allows you to cast it from range. While the regular Cure Wounds is a touch spell, Mass Cure Wounds is a ranged area of effect spell. With Mass Cure Wounds, you can select a point within 60 feet of the caster, and you can choose up to 6 creatures in a 30-foot radius of that point to heal them for 3d8 plus your modifier. Very powerful. Back to some more offensive type spells, starting with Cone of Cold. Cone of Cold is a wizard and sorcerer spell that shoots a cone of cold out from the caster's hands. This cone reaches out 60 feet, and any creatures that are caught inside it will have to make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they'll take 8d8 cold damage, and if they succeed, that damage is cut in half. Call Lightning is a level 3 druid spell that requires concentration. And what it does is summon a storm cloud that's 10 feet tall with a 60-foot radius, and these ranges are of course subject to change for Baldur's Gate 3, and a bolt of lightning will come crashing down on the point of your choosing. Each creature within a 5-foot radius of that point will have to do a dexterity saving throw, and they'll take 3d10 lightning damage if they fail, and half the damage if they succeed. On each of your turns, as long as you're holding concentration, you can use your action to call down lightning again, but you can also target a different point. On the topic of lightning spells, we also have Lightning Bolt, which is a level 3 spell on the Sorcerer and Wizard spell list. With Lightning Bolt, the caster will blast out a stroke of lightning in a line, and in D&D this is 100 feet long and 5 feet wide. Creatures that fail a dexterity saving throw will take 8d6 lightning damage, and half as much if they succeed. This bolt will also ignite flammable objects. Next up is a cool spell that I used a lot in Solasta, and that is Banishment. Banishment is a level 4 spell that requires concentration, and it's on the Paladin, Cleric, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard spell list. When you choose a target to banish, they'll have to do a Charisma saving throw, and if they fail, they'll be banished to a different plane of existence. The target will remain there until the spell ends, and in D&D the spell has a max length of 1 minute, which in BG3 I would imagine would be 10 rounds of combat. It is possible to banish an opponent for good if you hold the spell for its total duration, but how Baldur's Gate 3 will go about this, I'm not entirely sure. In D&D, to permanently banish a creature, it has to be a creature that's not native to the plane that you're casting it on. It's a really good spell to take an opponent out of most, if not all, of a combat encounter. Insect Plague is a level 5 spell that requires concentration, and it's on the Cleric, Druid, and Sorcerer spell list. I can see Larian doing some really cool spell animations for this one. With Insect Plague, swarming biting locusts will fill a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point of your choosing within your range. This sphere of insects will remain as long as you can hold your concentration, and it will not only slow enemies and create an atmosphere that is lightly obscured, but it will also deal 4d10 piercing damage to those who fail a Constitution saving throw, and half as much if they succeed. Quite a terrifying spell. True Seeing is a level 6 spell that's on the Bard, Cleric, Warlock, and Wizard spell list. With True Seeing, you'll touch a target and give them the ability to see things as they actually are. For the duration of this spell, which in BG3 if it's included in the game would likely be until you short or long rest, the creature that has True Seeing will be able to notice things such as doors that are hidden by magic, and they'll even be able to see into the ethereal plane. Pretty cool and useful spell. Dispel Magic is a level 3 spell that's on the Bard, Cleric, Wizard, Warlock, Druid, Paladin, and Sorcerer spell list. This spell will allow you to choose one creature, object, or magical effect within the range of 120 feet, and any spell of 3rd level or lower on your target will end. If you're trying to dispel magic that is of the 4th level or higher, you'll have to do a successful ability check to end those spells. Counterspell is a level 3 spell that's on the sorcerer, warlock, and wizard spell list. Counterspell is a reaction spell, so depending on how BG3 ends up doing reactions, this will determine how we the player actually get to activate it. Counterspell is great because it allows you to attempt to interrupt a creature that's in the process of casting a spell. For 3rd level spells and lower, the target spell will fail and have no effect. 4th level spells or higher, you'll have to make an ability check to successfully interrupt those spells. And the last spell that I'll include on this list, because it's already quite a long list, is a powerful reaction spell that should already be in the game, but Larian has held back on giving us access to it, and that spell is the Shield spell. Shield is a level 1 spell that's on the sorcerer and wizard spell list, and it will trigger when you're hit by an attack. If you choose to activate it as your reaction, it will create an invisible barrier of magical force around you that will give you a +5 bonus to your armor class until the start of your next turn. Like with Counterspell, this could work slightly differently depending on what Larian does for reactions. It's a very powerful spell, especially for such a low level, and I should also note that it completely blocks any magic missiles that may come your way, and magic missile is a spell that technically cannot miss. Now there's a huge boatload of other spells that may and will likely come to the game that are also in the player's handbook, so feel free to share some of your favorite 5th edition player's handbook spells, or even non-player's handbook spells below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.